for some reason the countdown, but that's okay.
Yep, it appears we're live, and so it should pop up on the screen in about like 20 seconds or something. Usually there's about a 20 to 30-second delay.
Is this your second screen?
On LinkedIn, there's usually before it shows on LinkedIn, there's a 20 or 30-second delay, but it'll start at the very beginning of where you and I started. So like they're just time shifted. So they're hearing all this right now.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
When Wayne is back, he's not with us today, but when he is back, he'll tidy up and edit these videos for us. It should be nice to get all that stuff done.
All right, just popped on now on LinkedIn.
Oh, really? What does it say? What can you see? What does it say?
I see you and me talking, but from 20 seconds ago.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not seeing that. This is really weird. Yeah. I'll just refresh and see what happens. Join. Aha. Yes. Right. So now I'm gonna have to turn. Right. Now you can hear me okay, Reggie, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. You can hear me okay?
Yes, I can. And I've muted the other one. So that's good. So at last I can see who's who and what's what. Well, I can see people. There's just us two. That's fine. Can you see anything else of what other information can you see there?
Just an empty comments sidebar and the networking, which shows one attendee, which is me, because probably other people just got the notification,
right?
And they should be, and it's supposed to start at 8, so they'll probably be joining in just a minute.
Okay, right. So I'm going to put the show notes in again through the studio. There we go, show notes. So does that show up on? Well, that doesn't actually show in the comments. It only shows in the studio, but it doesn't show on the LinkedIn.
Well, but yet sometimes the comments don't show there, because I don't know if it's because we're restreaming it in different places, and if it's showing in different locations, because I feel like the comments are often fragmented across where I'm restreaming it and where you're restreaming it, and so sometimes the comments aren't all together. I just have noticed that.
Right. Okay. Well, it's telling me at the moment that there's a problem, that it's not sending messages, but I'll try again to see if that goes out there, because that message hasn't got through, is it? The show notes.
I just reposted it. I don't know if you see that. There.
Oh yeah, good on you. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, but that doesn't show on the main. Oh, I've lost your volume, Reggie.
I stopped talking.
Oh, good. Good man. Okay. What? I think it's just you and me, kid, for the moment.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So we'll let me drag out some music here as well. Comment. Music. Okay.
I only got the notification that I went live, not that you went live.
Ooh.
I don't know if that is, but like when I look at my notifications, it says join Reggie Johnson's live event, but I don't see join Paul.
Maybe that's because you're restreaming it through 2 or 3 other channels as well. On
that could be,
or whatever else. Okay. So let me just check if people are any messages coming in from people trying to get in. Right, so we can be chatting away anyway. Quite casually, notifications me. Okay, no other bodies. All right. This is a bit strange.
I just switched over to your feed of it, and now I see a little bit more. I see your show notes under about, I see comments, I see networking, and I see, yes, more people are here now. We've got, hello, Brian, Robin, welcome.
Oh, very good. Okay, that's not showing up on my screen.
Actually, they might just be people that RSVP'd. I'm not sure.
All right. Okay. Okay. Well, we have a busy session here, so I think we'll crack on. Between you and me, we need to cover stuff, Reggie, so we can have our chat. Okay, we'll be kicking off in just officially in sort of 1 minute. I just want to kind of check a couple of things. Wayne will not be with us today, Wayne Denner. He will join us again next week. He's building out his man cave with all sorts of complications and stuff at the moment. So he's getting that done. He's got guys coming out with the kind of waterworks and electricity and utilities being fed into his man cave in his house. So hence he'll be back with us again next week, back to normal, having completed his great goal, one of his great goals in life. Right, so we're going to talk about, we've got to cover some good stuff here. The Ghibli effect is now a growing factor. We'll have a look at the Ghibli effect. We'll have a quick look at Ben and Jerry, just to update on some stuff that's happening there. And then we're into the AI, Dutch tulip bubble. Is that happening again some 400 years later? Are we seeing the bubble bursting again, this time with AI? We'll have a look at that. AI skills market and 10 insights from that. Parents wish before teen smartphones are given out. What would you want to wish for your kids? Well, we've got some really good stuff from Wayne, actually. So I'll just do a little summary of that and let Wayne do the bulk of it next week. We'll also talk about adolescence. It's actually getting traction, that adolescence movie, Reggie. I don't know if you've seen.
Really?
Yeah. I saw a comment from Nikki Reisberg. She's looking forward to watching it tonight. So I don't know what channel in America she's going to watch it on, but it's Netflix, isn't it? So
yeah,
you can access it. Okay, and also talk about Claire Morel, who does a wonderful summary of sort of some of these issues that are going to be hitting young people, and if you're parents or grandparents or you've got nephews and nieces or whatever it is, or neighbors next door, some great tips from Claire Morel there as well. And we'll bring back Wayne next week to do his own stuff. That's his area of specialism anyway, so that'll be good to get that. Russian infiltration of AI, Russian infiltration. It's a mouthful and it's serious. So I'm going to ask Reggie, you to say something about that. And then our final major topic will be the publishing theft issue that's out there that we've been talking about for years, and it's got a little bit worse, it seems to me right now. So we'll have a look at that. And we'll finish with, as a positive note, we always like to finish on a positive note. So we'll talk about AI knows you and actually helps you. And I had an experience with it this week, which I'll share with you, which is quite an interesting one. And we'll give you the prompt if you want to experiment with yourself. We love it when people do experiment with themselves. And then we finish with a recommendation, a short film for every family called Like and Follow. And it's just a couple of minutes long, but it might just change the behavior in your family when you're using AI and social media in particular. It's a wonderful piece. So we'll come back and recommend that at the end. And we put all the notes and links to everything we talk about go into the show notes. So we will spread that out there. Okay. So we're going to kick off, as we always do, with a little bit of music. If we kick off with somebody who's singing about something extremely relevant to everything that's happening right now, and certainly in Europe, this is really, really hot. And that's the children of Ukraine. So Ukraine still very much at the forefront of our thoughts. This is Tim Hain, local musician, singing The Children of Ukraine. We'll just do a short intro and we'll play the full track at the end.
Half of me is in Kiev, half of me on a train with my daughter, fleeing from the tanks and bombs. Daddy stays to fight the oppressor. This train rumbles into one more station where the desperate are trying to climb on board. This train is rammed with refugees and the conductor won't unlock the doors.
And the conductor won't unlock the doors. That's great stuff from Tim Hain, a local musician. He's played a couple of gigs for me, and he's a very talented man. He actually jammed with Jeff Beck. I was watching a Jeff Beck documentary last night when Jeff Beck did a fantastic performance in Los Angeles. I think, is it the Bowl, the LA Bowl, or the Hollywood Bowl? I think it is, yeah. Breathtaking. What a talent. Anyways, we've got a lot to talk about in the world of AI, changing every week. Our agenda changes at the last minute all the time. Just want to bring you into something that's popped up here that's kind of caught my eye, and that's the Ghibli effect. And it's kind of just exploded on the internet. And that is Well, I guess it's because of OpenAI have released a more advanced generator of images, and which means you can ask it to produce an image in a particular painter's style. So it can, of course, it can accurately add text or create images from text, of course, but it can also add text to those images. That's something like I used to have to do manually. It can create a series of images in the same style. It can reproduce images in any exact style that you want. And the one that's kind of floating across the internet right now is the Ghibli studio effect. That I think they're rather upset about this whole thing being done, because it devalues. I think it devalues, in my opinion. If I was an artist, if I was from the Ghibli studios, I'd be upset that anybody can produce artwork that they were uniquely known for. So it's like taking away their living. I mean, it's like Banksy, the famous artist Banksy. If everybody could do Banksys, then Banksys would have less value and less importance, I think. So we'll come back to that Ghibli effect and OpenAI's new functions of generating images. We'll come back to that under IP when we get to that section. That's the first quick item I wanted to throw at you. The next one is Ben and Jerry. Now, we talked about this a while back. Ben and Jerry is accusing Unilever, its holding company, of ousting its CEO in retaliation for its social media activism, in particular, their support for the Palestinian refugees. Now, they do support lots of causes like racial issues and climate justice and so on. And they actually included, when they sold the company to Unilever, they included a complicated contract that said they still had the right to fulfill their mission of social awareness and so on and so forth. And this is within their merger agreement, they say. So they're now taking Unilever to court. Now, this may well end up, because they did have a bit of a punch up not so long back, where they stopped selling ice cream into the occupied territories in Palestine. And there was a backdoor legal route that Unilever took to get the ice cream back in there. But probably that's where it all started. I don't know. But, they have criticized President Trump, and they are protesting against the war in Gaza, and boom, suddenly the CEO is removed. Now, they do support Black History Month and free speech and all of that sort of stuff. So they have a great history. But here we are. Now they are taking Unilever to court. We keep an eye on this one, because it could escalate, and be interesting. Unilever probably would fear some kind of a boycott of Unilever products if they continue to, the board of directors, or the group that is looking at all the issues that are raised. I think they are taking Unilever to court as well. So that is one that's going to run for a bit longer. We'll keep an eye on that. But getting back to the busy stuff, I wanted to have a look at the AI, the overexcitement about AI, and whether it's similar to the Dutch tulip bubble bursting back in the day. Reggie, tell us what's happening with AI stock prices, and are we overexcited still?
Well, Dr. Jeffrey Funk, author of Unicorns, Hype, and Bubbles, he wrote a book about these kinds of hype bubbles. And after AI stocks took a hit, resulting in between 8 and 20% lower prices in the last month than before, he said that the narrative is changing. So it's not just that the stock prices are going down, but the narrative around AI companies is changing. In a hype bubble, what he says is that you have, and he also refers to the work of Nobel laureate Robert Shiller, who won the 2014 Nobel Prize for his book Irrational Exuberance. But basically, you've got this hype around a certain economic sector, and that causes share prices to go up. And the share prices going up itself serves as a signal that this is really valuable. And then the media and economists explain the increase with reasonable sounding evidence that why it's valuable. So that causes prices to shoot up more and more, even though it's not founded on like real profit or real value in the companies. And he says that's what's been happening with AI stocks. But now they're going down, and he says he sees the narrative changing, specifically referencing, and that narrative changing could lead to a harsh decrease in the prices. He refers to Microsoft's CEO saying that the world has yet to turn any of the AI hype into anything productive or meaningful for the economy. OpenAI is admitting that ChatGPT still fails 1/3 of the time. They found that the higher scores on benchmarks for AI chatbots were because they were trained on those benchmarks, not just because of their being able to reason. how it's fallen short on complex reasoning tests, Google's AI scientists being rejected by actual scientists, the fact that AGI is still years away, even by Chinese scientists, and Apple's efforts failing. Larry Ellison's AI-based farming is losing big money, and OpenAI and Microsoft breaking up, and Google canceled several data centers, and Klarna retracted its claim of using Gen AI for call centers. It's another one of these situations where they said, we're using AI to do this, and it's like, okay, we're not really using AI, but they use that for hype, and they still say that using AI for a call center is years away. So a number of these things coming together.
Let me just ask you about this one, Reggie. I mean, overall, you're painting a bleak picture. And I guess Amazon, didn't Jeff Bezos stick with it? Was it nearly 10 years before he saw a profit? He just kept at it. And I do have examples of call centers using successfully AI. They're not the big boys, the smaller operators, actually. And I'm sure there are people that are benefiting from it. But what's interesting is perhaps it isn't as big as what they've been telling us. This is the new Nirvana. So,
well, it's similar to the dot-com boom and bust, because you remember the dot-com bust didn't get rid of the internet nor e-commerce. It refined it to kind of focus on what it was really good at. And in the same way, if we see a bust that maybe leads to stock decreases, it could really help AI to focus in on what it's really good at, practical benefits, and decrease some of the hype around it, so we can actually really benefit from it, as opposed to just a lot of hype about things that it's hard to know what's true and what's not. At least that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, and the AI sort of companies, the oligarchs are running around telling the world this is it, and they're hyping up the price. They are hyping it up. There's no doubt about it, and therefore it brings us to the question of the Dutch tulip bulb. It's when it happened way back in 1637. But people see about particular unique and limited Dutch tulips that the prices kept going up and up and up and up to ridiculous amounts, to the point where some bulbs, the value of an average house by the canal, which are quite prestigious in Holland. So in fact, some of the tulip bulbs, a single bulb is worth 2 houses. And eventually it had to bury it, and a lot of people lost an awful lot of money. Now, whether that's going to repeat itself and therefore refine from there on, we don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. But you can see the vested interest in some of the oligarchs wanting to continue to up the hype. But I think the research we're getting back is saying, yes, it does have many good benefits, but it's going to take a little longer to extract the full sort of payback on these things. Which brings us to kind of the marketplace itself, the AI skills required and the job market itself. You got something, Reggie, on sort of insights into AI skills and the job market as it stands right now?
Yeah, this was fascinating. Sorabel Feliz from the Department of Homeland Security, she's an AI governance professional. In her series on tech careers of the future on YouTube, she interviewed labor economist Diana Gelhaus, and she pulled together her 10 takeaways from her interview with Diana. And here were her takeaways: is one, to expect both job displacement and job creation. I think we've been saying that with AI. Being able to apply AI in different areas makes you more valuable in the job market. AI literacy means understanding not only what AI is, but what it's not, and using it responsibly. Transferable and soft skills are extremely valuable, because the definition and distribution of technical skills are changing rapidly. So what used to be a highly valuable technical skill might suddenly be something that can be automated. So that's where the transferable and soft skills become valuable. The democratization of tech skills elevates practical application and contextual understanding over deep theoretical knowledge. Our generalists making a comeback is kind of, you see this specialists. And just a couple more: keep your career choices aligned with your passion. She says you shouldn't go and chase a career just because it's hot, because we don't know how quick that'll change. And you don't want to make yourself miserable just to chase what's hot. AI is just a tool, not a magic wand. The presence of AI goes far beyond ChatGPT. Learn what else is out there and where it's integrated. And knowing how to use AI involves being aware of its limitations and biases inherent in the LLMs. We've been talking about that. And this is the last one: is keep learning, keep using AI. Things are changing much faster now compared to previous innovative breakthroughs. So those are and I'll just give this final thought. Ask yourself, what is the unique mix of technical, practical and transferable skills that I can bring to the table, and that's where your value in the job market will be.
I like that. That's actually quite useful to reflect on those 10 points. We'll put all those 10 points, or a link to those 10 points, in the show notes, which we've posted in the notes here, which you can access. So we'll put a link back to all of those 10 items, which brings us on to some of the darker side, and something we've been talking about literally for years now, is about, parental protection of children, abuse, rip-off, nightmare scenarios that there's just lots of online, particularly through social media, and it's going to get worse with mixing in AI with it. So Wayne actually wrote a really nice post during the week about if you had three things as a parent, if you had three things that you wished for when giving your teenage children a smartphone, what would those three things be? A really good question to ask. And I'm going to let Wayne talk about that next week when he's back. But I'll give you the three questions. You can think about them in between times. And his three questions was, before you give a smartphone over to a child, say to him, number one, is my child truly ready? Is he or she really ready? Or am I just being a sheep following the rest of the sheep? All the other parents are doing it, I'm going to do it. So are you strong enough to make your own decision? Number one. Number two, do I understand how social media will shape their worldview? And can I explain that to them? It's going to shape your worldview. That's question two. And question three, have I set clear boundaries to protect their well-being? Okay, so there's three nice questions from Wayne. We'll get Wayne to talk. He'll be back with us next week, and he can talk us through those in one by one. And he's done a post to it, and we'll link to that as well. But I want to kind of step a little further now, because I mentioned to you just before we went on air, Reggie, that I was picking up something from Nikki Reisberg, and she's going to have a look at the TV series called Adolescence, which we talked about last week. We mentioned again this week, Adolescence. It's on Netflix, and it's definitely worth a view. It's kind of hard viewing. There's no gory stuff, but it's the reality of what goes on in your home, maybe very different to what you imagine goes on in your home, because once your child closes their bedroom door, they go into that world. Or even in your company, it could be in the lounge, they're on the phone looking at stuff that's coming at them. So adolescence is an important piece of work. I would recommend it to all parents and uncles and aunties and grandparents and so on. But it made me think about, what would my three tips, having seen the series Adolescence and been shocked by it. And as I say, there's nothing gory in it. It's reality. My three tips would be to tell kids there are extreme misogyny groups out there, and they are affecting. And I think it was a misogyny group that got to this guy, I think. Number two, I'd say bullying happens everywhere, and watch out for your mates and yourself. And raise it and back each other, and ask questions about being bullied, because it's rampant out there. It's destroying people's lives. And thirdly, sextortion. You will be sextorted at some stage. There'll be a good-looking girl popping up saying, "Hi, Reggie, you're lovely. Oh, send me a photograph." And you develop the relationship, and the next thing is send me a naked photograph. Bang, they've got you. They'll then take you to the cleaners for blackmail. And destroy life, and suicide is a solution that a lot of kids are looking at the moment. So it's kind of terribly sad and awful. There's a film coming out called Can't Look Away. We'll talk about that again in the weeks to come. That's out on April 4th. I think it addresses this. But I came across another guy called Davis J. Williams, who's set up the Manhood Academy Global. And he posted a comment that we put a link to last week, but I'll put it again this week in case you missed it, about Netflix film, The Adolescence. And he said, adolescents just pull back the curtain on something every parent, educator, and mentor needs to know: the hidden language of emojis. Now, that's just one very small part, but he explains what they actually mean. Well, I didn't know what they meant. So also he says, get curious, not combative with your kids, create a judgment-free zone, decode stuff together. That's a great tip. Decode stuff together. Ask them to explain their digital world, and ask them, what do these symbols mean, and who are the influencers? And don't assume this stuff. Ask your kids. Teach them critical thinking. Help them to question online content. Monitor without spying. Be real about manipulation. Explain how toxic online groups will manipulate you and your mates so that they can help their mates. Build their offline confidence as well. Now, I'm going to add something to the notes we put in this week. I'm going to put a piece in there about helping people to move towards playing with kids through very simple games rather than them spending times on their phones. So I put a little video up which shows everybody can do these exercises. They're just fun games and kids love them. And maybe we can recreate and nurture that relationship again, away from the phone towards, human contact again. There is a powerful video we'll add to this by Claire Morel, and she's from the Ethics and Public Policy Center. We'll add a link to that as well. In 2 minutes, she says everything we've said in 3 months about the dangers of online stuff for our kids and so on and so forth. So a lot of stuff there, but it's really important that we put all the links up so people that want to watch it can. Now, let's pull away from that for a moment. Something that came up during the week, which was quite worrying, Reggie, was Russian infiltration of AI, or of the stuff that we're seeing is already being infiltrated by Russia. Is this true?
Yeah, this is interesting because this isn't a matter of they hacked into the AI models and made it do something different. It's not that. Do you remember how we've talked about how to get your brand mentioned in AI chat results? Well, basically, a Russian Moscow-based network did this by flooding the web with 3.6 million propaganda articles in 2024 alone. And they're designed not for human eyes, but to manipulate AI output. And 33% of the top 10 generative AI tools have now echoed Kremlin disinformation, Russian disinformation, per NewsGuard's audit. So NewsGuard is a company that did an audit on this, and you can read their full report by McKinsey, Sadeghi, and Isis Blanches. It was published March 6th. And this is an interesting thing that this narrative, this propaganda from this Moscow network group posted to the web as a place, we said get your brand into the places that the LLMs use as sources, and they've done this successfully in order to create supposedly factual responses that echo Russian narrative that's incorrect.
So they are becoming part of the training data that LLMs are using. Okay, and we estimate a third where you're looking for information on particular topics. About a third of these would be fed Russian propaganda. So that's worrying again. Yeah, and I think next week we might even talk about something else you've raised, which is scientific research being inaccurate because they're not withdrawing papers
retracted.
that are retracted. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're leaving those out there, and so that could have serious effects. We could back for people with cancer or serious medical issues. But I don't want to drift too far away from business and society as we discuss it. So we'll keep an eye on that one, Reggie. Thank you for your swift analysis of that. We're going to, before we finish in about 6 minutes, going to talk about tech giants publishing theft. Tech giants, thieves, Broligarth thieves, call it what you want. This is a piece by Toby Walsh, and I thought it was really interesting. Now, Toby is a professor of artificial intelligence at the University of New South Wales in Sydney. He's also an author, and he wrote quite a passionate piece. Again, we put the link up to it. We've posted the general link to the notes, but I'll put the link in the notes after this. And he said, tech giants are doing to book publishing what they're doing is akin to theft, daylight robbery. It's a digital heist, he says, and they're claiming it's fair use. Well, what's fair about this? He says, that his book has already been used to train. People can summarize his book through AI. So it's obviously trained already on one of his books. And then one of his publishers, who's a really good publisher called Black Incorporated, Black Ink, clever name, INC, Black Ink, and they asked for consent from its authors to train AI models on their work, and then they'll share the revenues with those authors. Now, he said that he was approached by a publisher trying to do a deal, but he said a bit more transparency would have been good. With whom are they trying to do a deal, and what for, and why they only given us a few days to sign. So it wasn't perfect, but it was better than most. But he's saying that authors are signing their own death warrant. And Australian writers are really angry after publishers are saying we've done an AI agreement. Now small publishers do great work in getting a percentage of small writers to be successful, but this guy's really outraged, and he's saying the tech companies like OpenAI, Google, Meta, training their AI models, they're using his copyrighted book, they're using my copyrighted books, and I object to that. In fact, in the front of my SOSTAC 2025 AI book, I've got a warning saying, do not scrape. You do not have permission. You're in breach of. In fact, if I was cleverer, I would have made that into a contract. I would have said, if you scrape, I'm offering you to scrape my book for £100 million. And if you accept this offer, you will scrape it and I come for £100 million. Maybe that's what I should have done. So anyways, and also this data is being manipulated also by Russian pirates who copy everything and throw it out there for all sorts of reasons. So it's just not fair. I think writers are having a bad time. Artists are having a bad time. Graphic artists, the whole lot. So they do make the point in this article that it's outrageous that the British government is trying to sell out artists with the proposed changes to the copyright law. I think we should stick very strongly on this and not give up the rights and insist. I mean, there's lots of law cases we've talked about over the weeks and months, successful lawsuits, New York Times and Getty going after these people. So these boys are able to stand up and good luck to them. So it's not just books, it's everything really. And I don't think fair use is what they say is fair use. They're using it to generate profits, and that is not acceptable. Now, in this hype about they should have the rights to steal intellectual property, Reggie, did you say to me that they have the lobbyists, the government lobbyists in America in particular, are actually, they've refined their proposition, their lobby to government, to saying that, if you don't let us steal all this stuff, actually, that's a national security issue. How could this
Yes.
work? What does that mean?
There's an article by Virginie Berger in Forbes.com, and she talked about the push in the U.S. to rewrite the laws of fair use to allow AI companies to steal everybody's content. And they have allies in Washington very high up, but they're positioning national security as a core justification for the broad fair use protections. And again, this isn't fair use for anybody to do this. This is kind of just for the specific use cases of AI. And they're
What's the angle on security? How does this affect national security?
Well, they say that if China, restrictive laws could inadvertently empower geopolitical rivals such as China. So AI leadership directly correlates to national security, economic prosperity, and democratic ideals. Get that, democratic ideals.
Yeah. So what they're saying is, if you don't let us scrape everything we want, our AI will be inferior to countries that don't worry about intellectual property. And therefore, over time, our competitive advantage will erode, and therefore we will be conquered by the bigger AI powers. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I mean, it's a ridiculous argument. I don't agree with it at all. It's manipulation at the highest level, as far as I can see. But thank you for pointing that out, which brings us to the Ghibli effect and AI copyright. So this is a piece that was written, and we do like her name eludes me, Louisa Jarovsky. She's a great writer, and she's done a piece on the Ghibli effect and AI copyright, saying where we started. So if the tech companies actually steal or train on artists' work around the world, for them to be able to generate something in the Ghibli style or in any style, in the Banksy style, they would have to have trained on lots of their art to be able to do this. And that's just wrong. As far as I'm concerned, it's going to put this guy out of business, I think, Ghibli. I could be wrong. We shall see. But we'll add a link to that, because it's shocking, I think. And she says that my bet is that a new wave of copyright lawsuits are coming now that OpenAI have launched this function that has flooded the marketplace with Ghibli lookalikes. That's quite a mouthful, Ghibli lookalikes. Okay, it's just 1:30, so in the UK. So we are going to stop right now. Two things I'm going to leave you with. One is AI knows me and can help me. By that I mean you. AI knows you and can help you. So there is a post. I'm going to post on the show notes a prompt for asking ChatGPT or any GPT you want. So asking this question: based on what you know about me already, play the role of a close friend who cares deeply about me, but is comfortable being absolutely transparent and direct with me. And based on all my interactions with this GPT, tell me 10 things I need to hear that will help me in the long run. Now, I did it. I'm not going to tell you what I came back with. I'll say that for next week. It was very impressive. It was a great question to ask anyway. It's always good to have a kind of reflection like that. So we'll put that question up. I will write that out and put it into the show notes, the whole question there. And maybe if people do have a go at it, give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of it. That's that. We'll also, I'm going to put a link to a short film called Like and Follow. Now, Stu Rogers raised this, and it's saying that, you know, when every pixel is optimized to keep you inside the system, the goal isn't discovery, it's dependence. That's what social media technology and algorithms are doing. So this short film, Like and Follow, by Tobias Schlage and Brent Forrest, really hits the nail on the head. It's only a couple of minutes. But the guy who wrote the piece, Stu Rogers, said, you know, do you want my unsolicited advice? It is this: look up, away from your phone, and go and enjoy the world beyond the screen. So to do that, I'm going to post some kids exercises that everybody can do to have more fun with kids and grandkids and so on, to get away from the screen, to break the habit if we can. There's more fun to be had beyond the screen. Let's break the screen habit. More on that in the weeks to come. Sorry, we've gone 2 minutes over time. I do apologize for that. Reggie, you've got to go. I'll play this track out. I know you're late. You've got to get to your daughter. So we'll play out The Children of Ukraine again by Tim Haynes. And I will wish you all a very, very lovely weekend, and we'll see you next week. Cheers for now. Here is The Children of Ukraine by the one and only, the wonderful Tim Haynes.
Half of me is in Kiev, half of me on a train with my daughter, fleeing from the tanks and bombs. Daddy stays to fight the oppressor. This train rumbles into one more station where the desperate are trying to climb on board. This train is rammed with refugees, and the conductor won't unlock the doors. And there's no more room on this train. No more room for no more pain. The world is watching, weeping for the children of Ukraine. Yeah. Fear and anger is all I feel. I didn't want to leave. Homeland, husband, mother and father, not knowing how we'll be received when we step off this train to anywhere. People still matter, people care, with only the bags that we carry in our hands, driven from a sovereign land. And there's no more room on this train. No more room for no more pain. And the world is watching, weeping for the children of Ukraine.
Goodbye, beloved country. Will I ever see you again? Will I ever embrace my friends and family? Stuck in that place where the bombs still ring.
Meanwhile he sits, safe in his Siberia, frozen out by the rest of the world. The devil unleashes the forces of darkness. No mercy on the innocent. And there's no more room on this train.
Readings
No more
Ukrainian
no more
the
place.
one changed for that will play our music in Kiev. It's
World is praying, praying, praying. Oh,
We are not afraid to play under the bombs. Through music, we want to show the world that Ukraine is strong.